Okay, so I was having trouble with the Herpstat 6 thermostat after I had unplugged it, or it was accidentally unhooked and everything came unhooked back there, like the probes and the heat panels that I'm running in each of these cages. And when it was plugged back in, each cage wouldn't get to its desired temp. This one, for some reason, it wouldn't heat up, and when it would go extremely slow. This one in the middle was trying to stay at its constant temperature I had it set to, but because this one was continuously getting hotter and hotter, this one didn't know what to do, so it couldn't work that well, and heat rises, so it was messing with this somehow. And what I ended up doing with this was I unhooked all the heat panels and I let them cool down overnight so that they all could reach the most similar temperature. And I just plugged them back in, and you can see they're all pretty much within a degree of each other, which I think is a solution to this if you guys ever run into this problem with this type of thermostat and heat panels for your enclosures. I'm gonna have to wait and see how it goes once it gets to its desired temp, which is 88.5 degrees, and we'll see how it goes, because yesterday, like I said, I was just having trouble with the thermostat. It wouldn't stop the bottom heat panel. That one, it was dangerous. It kept getting to over 100 degrees, and the only way it would cool down, because these have that sensor where it should shut off if it's getting too hot, and it has the warning where it starts beeping and it lets you know. And the only way I could get it to cool down was if I opened up the enclosure and let the stuff come out. And even at one point, I don't know why, but when I unplugged the heat panel, it was still getting hotter. So it's very possible it could be the heat panel, but I don't think it is, because it did end up cooling down. And again, I don't think anything's wrong with this one either, because it's still heating up. It's number 1. So channel 1, 2, and 4, from top to bottom, all the probes are set correctly. We'll see. But yeah, this video is for anyone who might be having this problem, because I was unable to find anything on the Spider Robotics website, even on YouTube. Like I've seen, there's videos that teach you how to use this thing, but nothing about when or if you start dealing with this situation where it just won't reach your desired temp range. And I think this is the solution. You need to unplug it, unplug all your heat panels, let them cool down to get to all around the same temperature overnight, plug it back in so that each heat panel isn't working too hard against each other. It's like I said, like when the number 2 was at, say, 80 degrees and it's trying to heat up, but number 4 is at 100 degrees and it's trying to cool down, like, yeah, that's gonna work. But then once they start reaching their desired temp ranges, it makes it really hard for it to fluctuate, because the heat panel on the bottom of this cage is heating up while this one's trying to cool down, and it just continuously would go up, down, up, down. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so the temps are getting to where I want them to be, which is at 88.5 degrees, but you could see how channel number 2 is becoming a little hotter. And this was the problem I was having yesterday, except number 4 was just getting way too hot. But number 2, I'm not worried about this right now. I just want to see how it goes, because right now they're way closer to the same temperature than it was yesterday. And number 2 is just a little hotter because number 4 obviously has the heat panel on top of it, which is right underneath number 2. And number 1 is on top of number 2, and it's the same thing, but the temp isn't raising up too much. So I don't know why it does that, but the middle cage is always, it always seems to be the warmest one, because the heat panels are always fluctuating. But right now it seems like it's gonna work out pretty good. This enclosure reached its temperature, and it's funny because you can see my little Suriname male in there starts poking his head out like, what's going on? It's warm in here again. He could feel, he's just been watching me sit here and watch the temps. This one just doesn't seem to give a fuck. It's just kind of been there. Then we have another one in here, but she's in her little cave back there hiding out. And I'm gonna show you the temps. See, this is much better than what was going on yesterday. This just was not happening at all. They were all over 20 degrees off from each other. And I could tell it's working because channel number 4 is slowly ramping up. And yesterday it was skipping by like 0.2 degrees, 0.2 degrees, 0.2 degrees. Like, it just kept heating up way too fast. And I think that this is the solution. So if you guys run into this problem with heat panels and this thermostat, or maybe even any thermostat, if you're using heat panels and you can't get them to fluctuate to the right temperature that you need, all I did here, I unplugged everything. I kept the probes plugged into this so I could keep an eye on the temperatures as they dropped to make sure they were all like within a degree of each other. And then I unplugged this just for a few hours, just because, I don't know, I feel like I needed to do that. And then I plugged it all back in, let them heat up all at the same time, and this is my result. So it's working out perfectly. And that's normal, how that one just went down because it shut off, because it's probably starting to get a little too hot, number 2. Number 4, it'll hit 88.5, and then it'll fluctuate from 88.4, 5, maybe even to 6 sometimes. But as long as it's staying within that 0.2 degree range, it's completely fine. But yeah, I always recommend keeping an eye on it just in case, because like I said yesterday, I had mine unplugged and the heat panel for some reason was at at 115 degrees. And I'm really glad I caught that, because the snake easily could have been harmed if I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, this should be it.